Right here? Okay. I'm not used to talking into this, so bear with me. I'm used to just talking in a class with little kids. So I'm just going to pretend that you're all little people and we'll get along really well. So, like I said, I have some raffle tickets for the items that I'm going to have raffled off up here. Some of them I'm going to raffle off after we're done with the workshop. You have to stay to the end of the workshop. So if you cut out on me early, you don't get the raffle prize. So I have about 4 of them I'm going to raffle off. My name is Sheila Haddix, and I'm here from the Rock Church of Elk Grove. My background is in child development. I went to Delta College and received my credentials in child development, and I taught in the corporate section of child care for probably about 25 years, setting up programs, toddler programs, infant programs, after school programs, then worked for Head Start for a while, and then opened my own program here in Elk Grove. And worked in that for quite a few years until I got sick. Then I took a break, and then I'm back to work. Praise God, He healed me. And I am back here at Wilson Academy, here at the Rock Church teaching kindergarten. So this is my 3rd year teaching kindergarten. So God does all things good. And so I'm excited to be here because this is my heartbeat. I am so passionate about infant and toddler programs. And toddlers are the ones I feel that get left behind sometimes. That's why I called this the Terrific Twos in the Inquisitive 3 workshop, because we need to put a positive spin on our toddlers because they deserve it so much. I think that they are just their little minds are so sweet. I know we have children in our programs that are challenging, but I think that we need to look at the positive of it. And in your folder, there is like an agenda, and then there's a supply list on there. I think it's like, did everyone find it? Okay, great. So I'm sure as a toddler teacher, you know the most important thing that you can do is prepare your heart. Toddlers have to be a passion. They really do, because they're a lot of work. You really have to have a passion for children, have a passion for teaching, and for that age group. You have to prepare your heart and your environment. If your environment is not prepared, the classroom's going to go awry. If you don't have a plan, those toddlers are going to make one up, and it's not going to be pretty. So I'll just kind of go down this list here about looking at your space. And the first thing I said is walk through your classroom with fresh eyes. Look and see what's going on. What are the things that you see in your class? So let's close our eyes for a minute and think about your classroom and your space. And think about the things that you're seeing in there and the different things that you use. And then open your eyes and think about walking through there like as though it's empty and what you could do to that space. Now, to do things in your space takes money, it takes time and hard work, but there's ways to get around all of those. The hard work you're not going to get around. The money part, believe me, I can tell you how to decorate a classroom because we do it all the time here at the Rock Church, and we do it with Dollar Tree tablecloths and things like that. So the other thing is, think about what your toddlers see and do. As a teacher, one of the first things I do when I'm setting up my classroom, like I'm getting ready for kindergarten or we're going to change our decor, is I get down on the floor, just like this, and I sit and I look around my classroom and I think, this is what my kids are seeing. This is what they see. They don't see everything way up high. They don't see the things on the ceiling. And things on the ceiling are great, but when you're looking like this and you're walking around like this is what they see. They see you standing above them. How intimidating do you think that is? So you need to sit on the floor in your classroom, and you need to look around, and you need to see, like, what could I do to engage that child or those children in what we're doing? And it's really important. Sometimes I'll move something in my classroom, and then I'll sit back down on the floor, and I'll look at it and think, toddlers can't see that. or that's not going to make much sense. So what I'll do is I'll get back down on the floor and I'll sit back down on the floor and I'll look and I'll see, okay, I can move that and that makes a little bit better of a, makes better sense for them. Does that make sense? The other thing is all your materials should be purposeful, because in a toddler class, they like to get everything and strew everything out. So make sure that your things are purposeful. These are some things that I use in toddlers in their swimming pools. I threw a couple of Walmart blankets and a couple of Walmart pillows in them. And of course, we have to wash them after every class, but I'll put books in them. It gives them a quiet spot to go if they want to go by themselves, if they want to go with a friend, or if they just need to calm down, or if you have a child that is dealing with maybe some sensory issues. It's a good spot for them to go. You can put it in your corner. You can put it just in a quiet place. And it gives them the opportunity to have a different sensory, tactile activity and to engage them. The other thing I do is I have these little balls. And I know we're thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to throw them at one another. But they have the best time with these. And when it's just simple balls, I got a box of them on Amazon for like $20, and I filled a swimming pool with them. And it turned my space into something wonderful. They thought it was a bubble bath. Oh, it's a bubble bath. I'm taking a bubble bath. But it's engaging them to want to come into the classroom and into the environment. So when they're at the door with mom and dad and they're looking around and they're kind of scared, and mom and dad sometimes are scared. They're dropping their child off sometimes with someone they don't know. It's important to have your classroom engaged. You want to have things out. You want to have like puzzles, things that they can do, things that don't need teacher direction. And that's real important, because that way you can be walking through the classroom and addressing each child. So it's important to have things like that. And those are different mediums for them to play with. Play-Doh. Play-Doh is a great thing to put out in the environment. I know you think, oh gosh, they come in their Sunday best. But Play-Doh, if you make it homemade, it comes off the carpet so much easier than if you use the store-bought. I know it's a little labor of love, but with a toothbrush, it comes off real easy. But I use these trays, and they only have a little bit of a lip on them. By the way, this is our curriculum. I'm kind of I'm really very proud of this. So I have that sitting up here. You guys really need to take a look at that. But I have these little trays, and they have a little bit of a lip on them. Not too big of a lip, so the kids can still roll with a rolling pin or with their hands, but yet it stays on the tray. And I got these on Amazon. I think I got 12 of them for like $24. And you can put them in the dishwasher. They wash up really well. So they work great for Play-Doh, or if you want to do arts and crafts with them. Arts and crafts in our toddler classroom looks a lot like sticker art. We use a lot of the peeling dots and put them in, let them do that for sticker art. Sometimes craft doesn't always look like a craft. It's art, and there's difference between what art and craft looks like. And I go back to my child development days when you're not supposed to tell a child how to put something together. You're supposed to let them be creative. And so this is where they get to be creative, because their art project, you're not going to get them to put a brad in something so they have a spinner to show the baptism of John, or to show the Holy Ghost and being baptized in Jesus' name. They're not going to get that. They're just going to scribble on it, and it's going to mean nothing to them. But they're going to remember peeling those dots off, sticking them on a table covered with paper. And you can do coloring sheets. Those work fine too. But think about what the process is. Why they're sitting there coloring, why they're doing sticker dots. You can talk to them, get to know them, let them see the love of Jesus. Let them feel that you're there for them, and this is your passion. This is the time to let your passion for your ministry shine through, because this isn't being a teacher, it's being a minister. And those kids have to feel that. They have to feel that, oh, what is your name? Caddy? Yadi. They have to feel that when you come into the classroom and they see you, they run up to you probably, and they probably hug your leg, or, you you're helping them transition into the classroom, but they're going to feel the love of Christ through you. And that's the important thing. They need to feel Jesus. We're the hands and the feet of Christ. And I know you guys all know that, but children really need to feel that from coming from you. And so doing art is a lot better than just doing a craft. And you have to find what works best in your environment. Maybe you can do a craft. Maybe you're doing something for Mother's Day and you want to do their handprint and make a flower out of it. And that's fine. That's fine. But for your everyday Sunday school, you need to find something that works in your environment and that the children are going to enjoy. It's going to make separation from the parents easy. And one of that is feeling the love of Christ. And you can have music playing. I would say soft music, not blaring music, because toddlers sometimes get overwhelmed by that. But you can have great Christian children's songs playing. You can have a parachute going with balloons in the middle and a teacher directing that. That invites that child in. You can have a bubble machine with just some little bubbles so that invites the child in and makes the separation from the parent and the drop-off process a lot easier. Are there any of the, would you like anyone like to share what they do when they for drop-off? Does anyone have something that really works for them really well? No? Okay. And that's fine. That's what these workshops are all about, to give us ideas. And I'm sure that you guys have ideas. Yes?
Reading books.
Reading books.
One of their favorite books. Just pick it up and be very loud and create the story and environment. Usually they'll all want to sit down and listen.
Good. Books are a great way to engage children. Having flannel graphs out for them. Even if it's, they're putting Jesus and Moses together on the wall, that's fine. They're seeing what those are Bible characters, and it's interactive things that they can do. So flannel graphs on the board are great too, but stories are really good. Because a lot of children, parents don't always have time to read to them, especially on a Sunday morning. Who reads to their child on Sunday morning? It's hard to. We're all trying to get to church. So that's a great way to engage your children when they come through the door. So the other thing is remove all clutter and unnecessary items that you don't use. So don't use your classroom as a storage place. That's going to create clutter, and it's going to create, for me, it creates chaos. I have to know where everything is. I'm a bin person. I have to have everything in a bin. I have to have it labeled with what I'm using it for, or I will forget what's in that bin. And then you need to go through those bins like every 6 months and say, oh, did I use this with this unit? If I didn't use it, I'm either going to donate it to maybe another classroom that can use it, or I'm going to donate it. Because, like I said, clutter creates chaos. You need to know what you have in your bins. Like we have a bin with costumes in it. So we know, like on Sunday morning, if we're going to have the children interact with us, in a story, help us act out a story, I know I can go to that bin and find a costume and where those costumes are. And so that I'm just not rushing around thinking, oh my gosh, I need to find a costume. So know what's in those costume bins. Those are really helpful to know. And you don't have to go buy expensive costumes. After Halloween, go to Goodwill or go to a thrift store and you can find lots of different costumes. They can be costumes that look like, you could buy a princess costume that looks like something from medieval. So you have to be real creative. It's a lot cheaper than trying to go order something that's, $25. So, try to, think, okay, after Halloween, I'll go check that's a good time to do that. You can find really good costumes and dress up things. If you're doing community helpers, it's a great time to find community helper costumes. Parents are donating those ones that they bought at Costco. And so that's a really good resource to look at. But don't keep the clutter in the classroom. The other thing is display only what the children will use and enjoy. So if you're using something in your class, like if the ball pit isn't working, get rid of it. Bag up those balls, bring them out another time. If your sticker dot table is getting old and the kids aren't enjoying it anymore, you need to change it up. So you need to see what works for your children and what engages them. The other thing is work together as a team. I know here at the Rock Church, we have, you would think that we have tons and tons of Sunday school teachers. For our team, I think we have 5 or 6 people. And we work almost every Sunday or every other Sunday. And so when we come together to do the room, it can't be just one person taking everything down. It has to be all of us, or it becomes a job. And then you get worn out and you get tired. And you have to communicate to one another. I can't do this on my own. I need your help. Let's work together as a team. Get together, what day works best for you. Don't do it on a Saturday, the Saturday before you're going to be teaching, because you're going to be too tired. Try to get it done on a Thursday night or a Friday night and get your decor done or what you need to set up. Our Sunday school starts at, the children come into our classroom around 10:15. They stay in the sanctuary. But we come in at 9 o'clock and we get the classroom prepared. We make sure that if there are any copies that need to be made, we set out everything that we're going to be doing that morning, and then we meet for prayer. That's one of the things we do right before we go into the sanctuary, is that all the staff, we all pray together. And ours is maybe a little bit different than yours, because we have someone that does admin, that does check-in, check out, and then we have the lead teacher is always at the door greeting the children, and then we usually have the teachers floating in the classroom. So, but work with your staff on what works best for you. Communicate regularly about the classroom. Don't get frustrated with them and say, you're not putting things away, you need to stop doing that. Just say, let's keep our classroom organized. Let's make sure everything has its place and we put it back. Do it in as if you're in the workplace. Do it in a very respectful way. Not everyone has the same ideals as you or the same thinking as you do. So it's really important that as educators and as teachers that we communicate that to them. In our society now, everybody texts everything. But a text can be read one way. Saying it can be communicated in a different way. So if you're going to use text, make sure you're just texting it in a Christian way. Don't say, who left the scissor bin out and didn't lock the cabinet and you didn't mop the floor? That's not what a text that somebody wants to get after maybe they had 28 kids that morning and they thought that they did their best in teaching a lesson that took them a while to prepare. So let's make sure that we're communicating in a positive way. Get your point across, but let's do it positively. Remember, the environment belongs to the whole team. So that means that everybody takes care of the environment. You don't just clean up the classroom after the kids leave and you leave Sister Susie to mop and vacuum and for her to take out the trash or to wipe down all the tables. It's everybody's job to do that. And when you're working as a team, you'll get your rhythm down. That we do. We know Sister Norma's going to start stacking chairs once the last child's out the door. We know I'm going to get the Clorox cleanups and I'm going to start wiping down the tables. And we know that Sister Norma takes the trash out, Sister Peggy vacuums, and one of the other floaters will mop if we need to have the floor mopped. We have a big rug in our classroom, so someone needs to vacuum. But we kind of have it down, and so we all kind of just do our thing. But you may have to, just put a list, if you're having different teachers come in and just say, what would you like to do? You want to vacuum? You want to mop? Do you want to do the trash? What do you want to do? Okay, I'll put you down for that. And then when they know, when they're in the classroom working with you, that that's what they need to be doing. Okay, does that make sense? Create an environment that supports learning. So with me being an early childhood development major and educator, the first thing I think about is the learning and the process. So that's why when I think about the things in the classroom, I want them to have a purpose with them. So the puzzles, I got number puzzles and ABC puzzles and shape puzzles and things like that are easy. These are really easy too. I got these at Hobby Lobby. These are a lot of fun. They can either sort the colors with the tongs or they can just sort it with their hands. Simple things like that. I found these Bible matching cards. Found these at the Goodwill store. I find a lot of stuff at Goodwill. And someone donated these, and it's a number matching, but it's Bible. Same thing with these blocks. What else could we use these blocks for? Instead of the kids just stacking them up.
Story too, like the Tower of Babel.
Right, exactly. How would you do that? How do you think we should do that?
Maybe have them set up, like if we were doing our Sunday school class, I
Right?
would have it set up with some music, like when they
Mm-hmm.
come in, something that matches it, something exciting for
Mm-hmm.
the kids, and then, usually they'll gravitate towards the table. We just have one big table,
Uh-huh.
and they're like, "Oh, what's this?" And then, I would usually just go into like, "Oh, we have a really exciting story," or any of you scared of heights, or just try to make it fun.
Good,
Simple
good.
things like that.
Another way that you can do it, if you have the classroom and the kids are all doing things at the table, I usually start singing a song to try to get them. I'll say, hello, 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 and how are you? I'm fine, and I hope that you are too. Hello, everybody, yes, indeed, yes, indeed, yes, indeed. And they all start coming because they know that it's time for story. And if I want to do like the Tower of Babel, or if I want to do the Walls of Jericho, sometimes I will take, can I have you hold this for me so they can hear me? I will take and I would put the blocks inside this. I'll show you. So if I'm gonna do like say the Walls of Jericho, I put my blocks in here. I'd start singing my song, hello, hello, and after they get to the rug, I'm gonna sit down. And this is called the flop and mop method. You drop it, you open it up. You can let the children sit on the parachute, or you can have them sit around it, and you tell your story from here. You start building your walls of Jericho. And then they can get up and they can march around it. And then they can shake the parachute and make the walls of Jericho come down. So they've been playing with these blocks when they came into class, and now they're seeing them used in a different way. So they've kind of connected it with their environment, with the story. It's going to be something they're going to remember, hopefully. They'll be able to remember, oh, we played with those blocks. We built the walls of Jericho. And then when they get to shake the parachute and make the walls come down, oh, they're real excited about that. So a parachute, for me, is a staple in the classroom. And you can buy real expensive ones, or you can buy some. Target usually has them around this time of year, and so does Hobby Lobby. Towards the end of summer, they go on sale. But they're great because you get the kids to, if they're playing over there in the ball pit, or I start singing that song, they know it's time. I'm not ringing a great big bell to try to get their attention. It's something soft. They hear it, they know it. They come on over, they sit down, and you can start your story from there. Do any of you do this method? It's kind of an old method. It was in the 90s. They taught us it in child development. I'm kind of old, so. It was a way to spark and get toddlers basically to the circle. And so whatever lesson you were teaching, you would put it in you can use a tablecloth. It doesn't have to be a parachute if you have a great big tablecloth. Or you could use a great big bed sheet. You could get a bed sheet and use it and implement it that way. But it's something to get them to connect to it because they're going to remember that. Or if you put these blocks, because these blocks stack down, I got these at Goodwill too, for like $3. And so, and they have these little shape things that came with them. Aren't that great? We have a great Goodwill here in Elk Grove. I suggest stopping there on the way out. But there's shapes that they can put in there. But if you stack these all together and have them build that tower in the middle of that parachute, can you imagine what they're going to remember? What they're going to think about? I mean, they're only 2 and 3, but they're still going to remember some things. Or for that day, it's going to engage them and think about what you taught that morning. Rotate your materials to ensure interest. I have some other materials over here that I use. Do you guys ever sing "Let Your Light Shine, Let Your Light Shine"? It's a Hillsong song. I use these. Sometimes I use flashlights. The flashlights the kids will shine in their eyes, so it's a little bit gets a little bit harsh, but these are great. And you can sing, or if you want to sing, "This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine." You can use these, and the kids love this for like music. I don't know what it's called. I ordered them off of Amazon for our carnival for the school. You can take a picture of it, and then you can upload it to Amazon if you want to. But these are great. The kids love them, and they're not real harsh on their eyes. Because some of the kids will shine the flashlight in each other's eyes. But we play flashlight tag a lot too when we're trying to, like, at the end of class, we have extra time. Holy Ghost is moving in the altar. We want to keep those parents in that altar, and we want to keep them, filled up. We have to find things to do. So I have what I call a game bag, and my game bag doesn't. Your game bag doesn't have to look like mine, but this is my game bag. And I have a tactile bouncy ball in here that we play catch with. We also have dancing scarves. I have scarves for the kids. We use this a lot during when we're talking about the Holy Ghost, about how the Holy Ghost falls on you. So we talk about that. Am I almost out of time? Am I going too long?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll wrap it up. So anyway, the most important thing is for you to have an environment that is enriched for children that are going to remember that you love them. Just teach it from your heart and provide them with things that are age appropriate, and Sunday school will flow very nicely. Okay? Does anyone have any questions? Well, we got to go. So thank you, everyone.
Test. Oh. Okay, is it official? Are we pushing everything 5 minutes, Sister Ladd? Is that the official stance? Okay, good. So I can kind of have an idea. All right. This is how to sing soprano. So hopefully you're in the right session. Okay, here we go. There's a handout in your binder if you want to use it. I don't follow it real close, but I will give you the answers just so you can have it for notes, if nothing else. Okay, so let's talk about, I don't know how wide that camera is, but I'm going to get down here by you guys. So Disneyland effect is what this class is. And the idea, I know there's been a lot of, I might should retitle it because there's been a lot of bad rap about Disneyland lately. So, but it's supposed to be, the happiest place on earth or whatever, and all great and all that. So I'm going to tell you just a little bit about our Sunday school, just to kind of set the stage, so to speak. So in our Sunday school, our goal, we don't always accomplish it, but our goal is when people walk in the door, kids walk in the door, that they're transported to another world. And so we want them to walk through the door and they forget about everything outside. They come in the door, it's upstairs, and so they go up these stairs, they walk in, and even the kids that, attend regularly, we have a long theme going or something, and they've been in there for 10 weeks, they still, when they walk in, I want them to be just, there's a term called suspend disbelief. I want them to walk in and they're not in reality anymore. Now they're in, whatever the environment is. So that's kind of the goal with the Disneyland effect, and there's a purpose behind it. Obviously, is to get their attention and keep their interest. So I already did the first one on the outline, which I didn't mean to, but transport kids into another world. And an immersive classroom makes kids forget about the outside world. So I'll give you some examples of what is an immersive classroom. So an immersive classroom, when I'm talking about this, and I can only tell you my experiences and what I do, I'm not saying it's the best way, it's just what we do, and it seems to kind of work. So when we walk in, now we are blessed with a permanent space, so that's huge, but I am going to talk about when you don't have a permanent space, because we did for years where we had to set up Saturday night, take down every Sunday. I know that they do that a lot here. And so we had to do that, and we still did very immersive classrooms. But here's an example. It's this room right here. What we would do is we would cover every inch of the walls, would be with scene sitters or something, and then build out the whole backdrop if this was a permanent space. And then typically, depending on the size, now if we were going to fill the whole room, that gets a little bit harder. But if we had only enough kids to fill this section, we're not going to leave it open seating like this. We're going to tighten the kids up where they're crammed in their seating, and we're going to build stuff in here, and so they can go in a tunnel or whatever. So we want them to be immersed in it. They walk in and it's just everything, but also we try to make it interactive. The style of our Sunday school is where they don't usually just sit in their seats, and we even talk about this is not a show. And so we want them to be involved, we want them to be interactive, we want them to be a part of the set, so to speak. So one of the first things that I do when I am getting ready to design, we're just starting construction on a new theme right now. And one of the first things that I do is I'll walk in the door. I gotta stay on camera. I'll walk in the door and I'll go like this right here. I'm not that tall to begin with, but I'll go like this, and I look at the room, and I try to think, okay, we're doing a pirate theme. So when they first walk in, what is the first thing that they see? And like, oh, okay, I can just imagine, what if we had a pirate ship right along that wall? And then what if over here there's like a cave and there's fog coming out of it? And so I start just thinking and imagining, and as a kid, first impressions are huge. So that's one of the first things I do is I walk in the door and and then I think through it practically, because kids are tough on things, and we do share space with our school, and so they use it and abuse it a lot of times. But then we will add lighting. We'll add lighting effects, and we'll add, what do they hear? We have music tracks that we use, and so when they walk in, they're seeing all. So on the outline, I think it's wear kid glasses. A lot of times as adults, I like, I'm a guy, so I like black stuff and shiny and, like tools, and, I like things all lined up perfect and everything. Kids don't like that. Kids like this. I don't even know how to build one of these. I don't, that's not my forte. But think through kid glasses. What do kids like? And so that's where kid glasses. This is the other thing is I ask myself, or I put on the notes, ask yourself, would a kid like this? And we joke all the time. It's kind of like Brother Booker said earlier, we have more fun than the kids do in at the service tonight. And that's what people will, give compliments or whatever, and it's great. But I'm like, I just get to be a kid. Like when you were a kid, didn't you build forts in the living room? All the guys, for sure. But didn't you like get sheets and build forts? Oh, did I leave you? I'm sorry. And the girls, okay. So you build forts and you do all. So now I just get to do it at scale. It was so funny. Side note: last night we were working on the set there, and we had cardboard because we were trying to do some stuff, and there's a box, and there's all these kids, and they all got these pieces of cardboard, and they're taping it, and they got Sharpies, and they're marking it, and it's like this big, and we got this castle in there. But that's detracting from what I'm talking about. Okay, so wear kid glasses. Where are we at on the list? Okay, brainstorm. So here's one of the things that I do with my team. I went. This is something. If you have a team, this is something that might be helpful. I went to, I think it was Staples, and got these big, huge sticky notes. Have you guys seen those? They're massive. And I invited everybody over. We had like hors d'oeuvres, just some snacks and stuff. And I put these on my wall in my living room, all over the walls. And we did brainstorm. So no idea was a bad idea. Now I did have a structure of, we're going to brainstorm on this first and this, and the first thing out of the box was a no kid Sunday school. So I wrote it down. It was a joke, but I wrote it down just to prove that no bad ideas. But one of the things I've done this many, many times is ask, what would we do if we had $1 million? Now, that's silly, I know. It's worth less and less anymore. But what would we do if we had $1 million? So think about that for just a second. It can be crazy, silly, whatever. Just for a second, think about that. If you came to this session and, whoa, you never knew this was going to happen, and you were handed $1 million to make your Sunday school awesome. What are some of the things that you would do? What's the first thing that popped in your head? Anybody want to volunteer? Armed security. $1 million. Wow. Okay, that's like Secret Service. Anybody else? A tree house? Okay. Huh? A roller coaster. I'm glad you said that because I'm going to get to that. Yes. Gaming consoles. All right. Okay, so the reason that I do that is it takes the lid off. Too often, we as adults get boring. And we are like, oh, what would be cool is if we had like a model train. So we started a long time ago with a curriculum, and it's a good curriculum. I'm going to kind of talk not negative, but I'm just not going to mention what it was. But it's an old curriculum, and we started out using that. That's when we switched to kind of what we call a one-room Sunday school. We have more than one class, but our class, the class that I am involved in, is 5 through 11, so it's a large range, age range. And the book, again, the curriculum was very good, but it had like decor suggestions, and it was like, decorate the corner of the room, and it had like some, I don't know, like ocean and some cotton for clouds and then a boat or whatever. So we came right out of the gates. We were like, we're not going to do that. We're going to do a boat that kids can get in. And so they got in the boat and sat. That was our sanctuary, was in the boat. And so I think that, like, let's go back to the model train. We can have a model train because our train, the theme is a train, something to do with a train. Well, why don't make a train that kids can get in? And so expand your thinking. Somebody over here said roller coaster, and that's an example I like to use because roller coaster seems a little out there. There might be one somewhere that kids ministry has, but one thing that can do is like, okay, we can't do that because we don't actually have $1 million, but that gives me an idea. We could do, so we do slides at our Sunday school all the time. We build slides that are about 8 feet tall. And they're really fast. And so you could come up with different ideas because of somebody's $1 million idea that you can't do today. There was an idea that somebody had about, I can't remember how it was, but it was like to be able to transfer to a different room. And so we eventually, it was on the list, it was just like a crazy idea. And eventually we built a slide that it was a tunnel slide, and you climbed in from one room, you went down the slide, and you landed in a different room. And the only way out of that room was, well, there's a secret entrance, but the only way out of that room was to climb a net. You had to climb this net and go up and around. So it was really neat. But that all came from a crazy $1 million idea. And then I like to flip it. I don't know if I have that on here, but I like to flip it, and I like to say, now, what if you had $50? Because a lot of times when you have only $50, it pushes creativity. Because now you have to think, okay, what can I do with, what can I scrounge and gather, and what do we have left in the, they have the tunnel here, they call it. What do we have in the tunnel? What do we have, hey, can I get some people to donate, whatever, I've dumpster dive for cardboard, go to furniture stores and say, hey, can we use your cardboard? And they look at you cross-eyed. So it opens up the possibilities. What time am I supposed to go to? I always do this. 3:20. Oh, we got all kinds of time. All right. So here is another thing I have on here. Well, let me go to this. I don't want to stomp on another session I'm doing, but I do want to just hit this really quick. People tell me all the time, I'm not creative. Oh, you must be so creative. But it comes from those $1 million ideas. It comes from, and getting a team involved, or if you don't have a Sunday school team, just ask teenagers, whatever. Just ask people, because I tell my kids, they don't believe me, but I'm a retired teenager. But teenagers are retired Sunday school kids. And so they're closer to that. And they know, like, oh, what would be cool is this. And sometimes we're like, that doesn't seem like it would work. Okay, ideas are a dime a dozen. That's the next thing on the handout. Ideas are a dime a dozen. There's a saying, a quote, I think is Nun Bushnell said, anybody who's ever taken a shower has had a good idea. And so now we're talking about the flip side of that. So brainstorm and everything, but it is all about execution. So that's the other thing with creating the Disneyland effect is you can't be afraid of hard work. This is something that I am kind of a champion of. I like to talk about, and everybody probably hates me for it But it just boils down to it takes hard work. So like I said, we're just starting a theme construction right now. It's a mess. And we're in a transition phase. And so we did a news theme. We left our backdrop up, but on one side I have all this construction material, and I kind of covered it up with some blankets for now. But when I get back on Monday night, the construction starts. And so that's, for me, that's physically getting in there and getting a hammer, drill, whatever, and start building. And so when you do that, it's not going to go perfectly. Anybody in here that has any experience doing anything knows that. And so go into it not expecting it to go perfectly, expecting problems, but making it happen. You're going to go in there and make it happen. So when I sometimes I've ran into problems and it turns into like, oh, well, let's do this, do this cool thing instead. So, you know what? We talked about hooking this up, but this thing's not even on. So, I think we had to get like a broomstick or something to power it on. Can somebody help me with that? Okay, cool. I was just going to show you a couple pictures, but to give you maybe some ideas. Okay, what takes it over the top? So never underestimate little ideas. The very first time we did something like this with a theme, everybody watch her. Let's see if she can hit it the first time.
This takes talent.
There it is. Oh, all right. Yes. So our first theme that we ever did, where I talked about that boat that we got into, this is when we had to set up and take down every week. And so what we did, the room size was probably about this. So this, roughly half. It had a weird shape. It was a little more of an L. But we had this room, and so the kids would enter from like right where the projector is shining. So they'd come in from there, and we put the boat like right here. At that time, I think we only had probably around 30-ish kids maybe. And so we would bring them in, they would sit on the boat, and they would walk. First you would walk in, they would have like a bubble machine and stuff. You'd come in, and the ceiling, it was a little lower than this, it was an 8-foot ceiling. And so you'd come in, and it was blue plastic, like kind of billowing, and it was tacked to the ceiling. It was kind of a nightmare for maintenance. But anyway, so it was all tacked to the ceiling, and then there was blue on the floor, and you'd walk in on this gangplank, and then it took a turn into the boat. And you go in the boat, you just sit on the floor. And then over in the corner over here, we had the island. It was like Treasure Island, kind of. It was the island with treasure on it. And so, excuse me, there was, we had like this tan, those drop cloths, the painter's drop cloths? So we used that. We had this island. The island was not very big. It was maybe as big as the Oregon area, kind of. And so the island was over there, and there was a tree. I think it was a palm tree. I can't remember, but it was some kind of tree. And then we had gold coins, and we had a treasure chest. Okay, now all of that had to be set up on Saturday night and taken down on Sunday morning. The biggest thing was the boat. And so the boat it was some framing and stuff, and we had it was modular, it was in pieces. And one of this is some practical ideas. This is why I'm telling you this, not just to brag about it, but some practical ideas. Is one of the ways that we would fit pieces together, and we've used this so much since then for modular walls, is hinges. So we'd use a hinge, it has two halves, right? So one half on this side, one half on this side, and then you have the pin. And you pull that pin out and remove the wall, go store it. And next week you bring it in, put them together, drop the pin in the hinges. So some of the girls are looking like, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so anyway, that's an idea. We got blue plastic, and then this was not my idea, but it was very cool. Is somebody got some, I think it was fireman hose, because it's like a really stiff hose, but they got some fireman hose or something, and then we had this wood. It was probably, I know it's like decking pieces or something. So it was like 3 inches or maybe 2 3/4, and about this long. They cut a bunch of pieces, and so just imagine those going in a row, and then laying that fire hose on it, and putting screws in it on both sides. Still 2 rows of fire hose, and you could roll it up and store it. It was big, it's kind of heavy, but you could roll it up and store it. But then you roll it out, flip it over so the fire hose is down, and you have a gangplank. Now it's not elevated or anything, but it was cool. You could walk in and you're on the gangplank. Don't step in the water, you know. And then, like I said, I mentioned already, we use tan fabric for the island. Blue plastic is kind of hard to find, but we got a bunch of it from some kind of construction site. And then we took cardboard and just cut them into circles and spray painted them gold. And that was our gold coins. We use those for a bunch of stuff. So those are some practical ideas. And we would set up, we had a team. And eventually, when we got a little bit more elaborate, we would have a team that we would rotate. We had 2 teams. And they would set up, opposite Saturday nights. But they made it fun. I mean, sometimes they'd get pizza or whatever. But the setup only took, I think it took about an hour. And of course, takedown was super fast. So it can be done even if you don't have a permanent space. Okay, man, I'm almost out of time, and I want to leave just a couple minutes for questions. Okay, let's go to the last part of the handout. What takes it over the top is details. So details matter. And in fact, in that theme, I remember we were setting up one night, and there was like that island, the cloth was, you could see the corner, of it. And I told a young man to adjust it, and he didn't do it right. So I went over there and I was fixing it, and he's like, he said something about like, that's not a big deal. I was like, no, it is a big deal. It's got to be round. It needs to look right. I don't want kids looking at that, oh, that's a sheet. Because again, remember that saying about suspending disbelief? It comes from the film industry, but suspend disbelief. You want kids to walk in, they know it's not real, but you don't want them to think about that. You want to think about, this is so cool, this is real. Okay, and then, so details matter. Commit to the story. So this really applies to thematic Sunday school, so themes, which like we have out there in the lobby, all the curriculum. So it's very dependent on themes. It doesn't have to be, but this idea. So committing to the story means like, okay, you built this really cool theme, and you have a slide, and you have a cave, but now you should probably have some sound effects. Fog machines are super cool. Lighting, costumes, you got to have costumes. So all of that is part of this. It's all part of the theme. It's all part of that thematic element. And then, don't reveal everything at once. This is something I learned later on. You want the first impression, and you want it to be awesome, and you want it to be incredible. One time we did a theme, I can't remember what it was some kind of medieval theme, and you walked up the stairs, and the first thing that hit you was a waterfall. And it was about a little taller than the ceiling. It was, I think, 15 feet tall. And it was a waterfall coming down that we handmade. And we had lights on it and stuff. So it was like the first thing that you saw, and it was like, wow. And then you would go in to the castle, where the main room was. But then later on, you would come out and you would go, and it was like over here where you didn't see, because you had to go around. There was a whole nother section, and it was a forest. We had a bunch of trees in there. And so, in fact, that's a funny story. I had gotten these discounts. I was at the time working for a school, and so I had a teacher discount, and then there was some coupons and stuff. So I went to Michael's, and they had these trees, and they were really cheap. And I took the bus down there because I had nothing else, and I loaded that bus up. I had like 23 trees, I think. So it looked like a big pot bus going down the road, all these leaves shaking in the windows. So we used those trees so much. But anyway, so commit to the story. You can have all of or don't reveal everything at once. Sorry, don't reveal everything at once. You can have it in stages. And then if you have a really cool prop and you have a long theme, you can make bring it into the story later, and it's another wow factor. Keeps it interesting. Keep it growing. Take it to the next level. Okay, so I want to just show you a couple pictures. I am out of time. Oh my goodness. So I had shown a couple people this last night. Oh, I think I have to get close to this to connect first. I was doing this last night. It shows up, but it says it won't connect because I'm not close enough or something. Let me try again here. Oh, oops.
Oh, that's the wrong one.
Oh, is that the wrong one?
It's this one.
Oh, it was there. Be like Elmo, it was there, but it is not here anymore.
Let's do it again. Here, not that. There.
Voila. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, this is, man, we're out of time, but this is a Coliseum. And so that height there is 15 feet at the top, at the highest point. And then you can't really see it, but I used, that picture's probably even worse, but I use what's called forced perspective. And I learned this about reading about Disneyland, in fact. And so these archways are, I tried to go the minimum I could, which was about 6'6", so people wouldn't bump their head. In fact, Brother Booker came when we had this theme going. And then the ones up there are scaled the same, but they're smaller. And then there's some square ones at the very top. And then I tried to do every picture you look at, the Coliseum has that broken part, so I was trying to do that. And then these back here are vinyl, kind of like a car wrap, but they're on the wall. And then there's a cloth one on the back. I don't really have a picture of here. But anyway, so this is an example of, for us at least, going over the top. And so we built all this. It didn't really actually cost that much. Oh, the lighting that you see, especially in this one here, is we have an electrician. We have a few, but he's in Sunday school. And he wired it all, and then there's LED lights on the sill that's hidden, and it's shining up and creating that. Okay, I got 2 minutes. Is that what you're saying? I'm 2 minutes over, or I have 2 minutes? Oh, perfect. Look at that. We have time for questions and some made-up answers. So does anybody have, I have like 2 more pages of notes that I didn't get to, but I guess one of the things I wanted to reiterate is you can do this without a permanent space. It's awesome if you have a permanent space. You probably can't do that without a permanent space, but you can do a lot without a permanent space. Okay, any questions or comments or anything that anybody has? I cover it all. Yes?
What is that made out of?
Okay, her question is, what is that made out of? So I actually, when I made it, I took videos because I have this grandiose idea of posting how to make this. I haven't edited it yet, but the basic framing is wood, and then I did this one time before years ago, and I did do cardboard, but this time what I did is it's kind of cardboard. It's called Ram board from Home Depot, and so it comes in a roll and it's really thick, and so what I did is I took that, crumpled it all up. And it will tear when you do that, but I crumpled it up and then spread it back out and stapled it to the wood. And then the outside of that is brown builder's paper. Same thing, crumpled it up, laid it out, and then I do spray glue, a light spray glue, and then I had a bucket of cement and a bucket of sand and a bucket of dirt. And I made a mess. And so I put that all on there, sprinkled it all on there, and then shake it all off and lay it back down. Then I had some of that stone spray paint, and I would just do like little highlights. So there's real dirt and sand and cement on that wall. And then I made a pattern. I don't know if you can see it. There's a little bit of a brick pattern. So I made that. I would lay it down when I did my highlights. I wanted it really subtle. And then that was forced perspective as well. So every 4 feet, well, it's a little less than 4 feet, every layer it goes up, it gets a little bit smaller and smaller. So the top one is only about this big, the bottom one's like this big. So it makes it look taller. All right, what else? Any other questions? Okay, we are there on our time, so thank you, everybody.
All right, we're at breakout 3. And our session will go to 3:55. So, the title of this session is Avoiding Burnout in Children's Ministry. And I probably should have put in a little addendum on here because I feel like avoiding burnout is key, but also recovering from burnout is probably going to be another focus that we need to hit. And I would like to start off, and I wish she was in here. But I've been so impressed with everybody from California, and it's just been an amazing time. The church, the people, just the quality of people, and everything's been amazing. But I cannot wait to get back home to Gina, Louisiana, and tell Pastor Wells that they turned their projector on with a broomstick. We actually have remote controls. So, anyway, y'all need to step it up. It's you can just stand here and do it. It's amazing. Hey, we were just introduced to it just a few days ago, and it's awesome. So we're looking at, this is just real talk, real thing, really happens. And I may tackle it from a little bit different perspective than what you may be looking for. And I feel like most of the people in this room, if you haven't already, you probably will experience some type, to some degree, of burnout, or just, you know what I mean, kids, disgust, people, politics, whatever you want. And you can, a lot of this is applicable to life, but we're focusing on Sunday school, and before this is over, I hope that you can take this home with you maybe and share it. See signs in other people that you might can help out in the future. So look at there, it worked. I just clicked a little deal. There's some more stuff I'm going to show y'all around here. Now, this is not the first time I've done this session. This is the second time back in Gina, and I feel like I want to give God 100% of everything that whatever talents, abilities that I have, that it's in me, it's all from above, and I want to make sure that He gets 100% of the credit. So this statement right here, as I was driving, I do a lot of communicating with God while I'm on the road, and it just dropped into my spirit. So I think I was voice to texting, so I don't think I was texting and driving, but I was studying and praying about this topic, and so this just fell out of the sky. So I didn't want to just run through this. I want to read it to you like God gave it to me, and I feel like He did. Inside every person is an innate desire to develop something. It's just in you. Your whole life is constant repetition of taking things that are lesser and creating greater things from them, such as your home, your job, your lifestyles, your hobbies, etc. Burnout happens when we feel like our resources and energy are not sufficient enough to achieve the desired end result. This can come as a conglomeration of many tasks that are ongoing, or one massive investment into an achievement such as Sunday school. And it's at that point that we realize that there's no way that we can achieve success, and we throw up our hands internally, hide under the covers. But the mindset that we must have is the increase does not come from our efforts, it comes from God. God takes our meek efforts and multiplies them manifold times, and He accomplishes what He wants with what little effort that we're able to invest. So there's a little bit of theology involved with this, and I understand where I'm at. I'm ashamed to even say the word theology right here at Wilson University with Dr. Wilson and Brother Young and all. But anyway, there's a spiritual and a basic apostolic fundamental point about burnout that we're going to touch up with first. But let's talk about first the physical thing. I just went backwards. How did that work? Oh, I thought I was going to show you guys something, but here we go. So the physical causes of burnout, number one, and I'm guilty of this a lot, self-neglect. I'm a people pleaser. I want somebody else to be happy. If it's my family, if it's my friends, I want to make sure they are successful and happy and loved. Can everybody over here see okay? And so I wanted to point to that right here. And I always felt like, and I was brought up in the culture of favoring your brother, giving of yourself as a servant, and all those things have a place in the kingdom of God. But this come from a Kingdom Speak episode, and some of you may have heard it, and I'm going to twist it a little bit. But basically, Brother McKillop and them were talking about the promise that God gave the children of Israel, that when they entered the promised land, it was going to be a land flowing with milk and honey. Now, he didn't tell them about that. Of course, it was all the other stuff there too, but there was also milk and honey. That was the goal. That was the promise. That was what was promised to them there. Now they fought. They had to struggle. They had all kind of obstacles. But if we spend all our time in the Sunday school or in life struggling and fighting to get to that promised land, and your promised land, your calling, your anointing is Sunday school, there's milk and there's honey there. There's goodness there. There's sweetness there. And you can't fight all the time. You can't battle constantly. You have to take time to do like Jonathan did and dip your staff in it and get a little. Saul's telling you, I'm flipping little characters here, but Saul said, don't do it. The world's going to say, this is not time to do it. But in your investments, in the kingdom, in your class, take time to dip the honey and ingest what God promised you to be here in the Sunday school department. And it's work. Yes, it is. But it's also, you have to spend time for yourself. Honey is sweet. It's one of the sweetest natural things God give us. And it's for a purpose. It's not to be walked past. We have to stop, take time, and don't withhold. So we need a balance in our life. It can't be all working in the kingdom. We need to spend some time getting some of that sweetness for ourselves. Another deal right here, I got this from Brother Baker. Seeking perfection instead of progress is a physical cause of burnout, for sure. Perfection is the thief of production. That's where I got from Brother Baker. Perfection is the thief of production. Now, you can be overly, and I'm somewhat like this, and I know if you're here, you probably have some of those tendencies because you want to do things right. You want your whole life to be just right. Well, I've learned if you're going to get anywhere in the kingdom of God, you've got to take it like it is, let other people handle some things, but you're more worried about getting there and the end result than you are about it being a perfect straight line between here and there. Another little deal I got from him is it's a big job. It is, life can be overwhelming, and we can talk about all the things in our personal life that get us to this point we feel like we're burnt out. We can talk about all our tasks in our Sunday school department that get us burnt out. And I'm not here because everybody's got a different setup, everything's different, but what I want to say is there's a method that everybody's got to make sure that it takes little bites. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. That's where that come from. You can't just say, okay, here's our problem, and how do we get it? Well, let's just go to work. I can't do it, and lay down and quit. It just takes one bite at a time. And once you start chewing on the elephant, you may start at his toes and work your way up. I don't know. I'm just making it up. But you will feel a motivation once you get started with a task. Once you start trying to overcome that big obstacle that is nagging at you, once you start on it, motivation will start showing up. It's just the way God made us. Motivation is a byproduct of doing something, of just getting it done, just working at it. So don't let it be. So here's kind of where I'm fixing to fall off into this area of self analysis. So what if you tried everything and you say, okay, I'm doing everything right, but I'm going to say 90% of burnout is all right up here. And we can take care of the things that are up here by taking care of spiritual things. So it's time for some spiritual, psychological. Now, we're fixing to look in, we're fixing to delve into what causes, and I think nobody here is at that point because you wouldn't be here. You're ready to work. You're ready to go back to your Sunday school department and really make a difference. I don't think you're here because you're burnt out, but maybe you have people under you, or maybe you will get to that place. But let's look at what the real cause, I think, of burnout is. I think I'm going to go ahead and introduce this guy. This guy's name is General Stockdale. He was a admiral in the Vietnam War. He was in the Air Force. He crashed his plane. I don't have time to go deep into his story, and at the end I might, but it's a very, 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 I hope I get time to tell it because it is an amazing story. But anyway, he went through some terrible, terrible things in a prison of war camp in Vietnam. And he was like the only person that not only didn't die or didn't suffer major mental breakdowns and be completely mentally handicapped the rest of his life, he succeeded and went on to run for Vice President of the United States. And his opening line at a debate when he was running for Vice President was, "Who am I and why am I here?" So basically, every day I think we need to ask ourselves, why am I doing this? What purpose do I have, and what am I doing it for? And I can tell you what your purpose is. You're a Sunday school teacher. You're a children's minister. You are somebody that is set on that platform, and that platform is where you belong. Now, why am I doing this? That question is going to be a personal question that you have to come up with on your own. And there are three basic motivations to answer that question. Why am I teaching Sunday school? And this is just human nature. This is real talk. This is what everybody in this whole world will look at. Number one motive would be to please myself. And that's almost admirable. It's like, I am somebody. I'm a Sunday school teacher. I'm making a difference. I have led these children to where they need to be, and I have done. And that's good to have to that, but if that's your motivation, if that's what keeps you, it's okay to be proud of what you've done, to have purpose and ambition, but if that's the motivation that keeps you going, so we're going to look at all of them. Number two, if your motivation is to please or impress others. Now, I had to battle that in my culture. I come through a long line of good, strong men who I looked up to. They were superheroes to me. So I wanted to always please my dad with everything I did, and my grandpa, and I want people to be proud of me. I wanted to be patted on the back. And so I invested everything I had for that purpose. I'm looking to, I want to impress someone else. You can care and you can give and you can serve to impress others. And that's admirable. That's okay. That's a human nature. But let's look at motivation number three, to please God. And this should be the basis of all our work in the kingdom, is because God put me here. I'm working for Him and I want to please Him. And that's the purpose I'm here. Not even though my mama was a Sunday school teacher, my grandma was, and they're all proud of me, that's good, but it can't be your motivation. You've got to have your motivation, your source, and I like to call it what fuels your fire, what puts the gas, what gas is burning in your tank. So if any of our investment is directed anywhere besides because I'm working in the kingdom for God, then we will have to limit then we will have to limit our invested time and energy or eventually suffer some degree of burnout. Okay, let me validate that statement. We're going to get into this, but I feel like in the kingdom, there is a process that God, only God, it's divine, it's from above. It's sowing and reaping. He gives it to you, you give it out, and you look, you're filled up again. You know what I mean? You're going to suffer. Mama can't do it for you, and you pleasing yourself. You're going to burn out if it's for no other reason than pleasing God. So sowing and reaping, there it is right there. It matters where you sow. So the law of sowing and reaping it's a fundamental principle in the Bible. We know about it. You sow a seed, you're going to reap a bunch. And whatever you sow, you're going to reap. And you give, and God gives you so much more. That's the way it works. But it matters where you sow that. And if you're sowing in the kingdom of God, you're going to look up, and that one kernel is going to make thousands. And that's just the way it works. So if and it happens in your life everywhere. Everybody's got a life that's full. But if you're spending a lot of your time in places that are not the kingdom of God or not benefiting the kingdom of God, guess what? That fuel is not going to return. It's not going to fill back up. That investment won't. But everything you do in the kingdom of God will fill back up to overflowing. So it's a cycle of give and take. It's like the rain falling and going back to heaven. It's regeneration. It's living and dying. It's giving and taking. So people and ourselves cannot fill our spiritual cup. And that's what I'm referring to as burnout, is having your spiritual cup filled and overflowing. God is the only one that can do that. So I think number 5 is actually a wrong statement. Spiritual time and effort and energy received is directly proportionate to given. I probably need to change that. It's kind of like, you know how God's math works. He gives us, we give him a little bit, he gives us a whole lot. So that's kind of what that statement is. So here's an analogy I like to use with that. I like to look at it like a pump-up sprayer in a garden. Now, we're a vessel. We are made to hold the Spirit of God, and we're not just to hold it and become stagnant. We are to pour out. And that's what we're doing in our Sunday school classes. We're pouring out on our children. We're pouring out on this world. And number one, if you're in the master's hand, if he's the gardener, he's the one that's this is all his garden. He's got you in his hand. He's going to put you where he wants you. He's going to spray the things, water the things that need watering, and you're going to go where you need to go if you're in his hand. And if something over here needs taken care of, he's going to take you there. But if you're like, my calling's really, I really want to be in the nursery, but God's wanting you over here, guess what? He's over here, and you're over here, and you're going to drain out because you're running over here in the nursery class, and the God of regeneration is over here saying, well, I tried to get you over here, because he's the one that fills us back up, and he also pumps us back up. We get refilled, and we get energized whenever we're in his hands. So that's the analogy I like to use with when I think of burnout. So if you can look at all those things and say, okay, where am I falling short? Am I in the master's hand? Am I in the position? Is my calling what he wants me to be, where he wants me to be? Am I doing what he wants me to do? And if you answer yes to that, then I don't think you will ever be able to suffer burnout, because he's going to fill you back up. He's going to pump you back up. But if you ever get a little bit sideways with any of those ingredients, whether it's why you're doing it, who you're doing it for, or yourself or others, or even the position where you're at, I feel like even though I think God's got a place for everybody, and you've got to be sensitive enough to be able to move where he wants you to move, because that's where you get the regeneration from. So just analyze, and also looking at people under you. Here's a little story I like to tell, and I forgot exactly where I heard it from, but it was a guy that had been gone in battle for a long time. It was one of the Vietnam or Korean wars, and he had been a long time gone from home, and he was an old country boy. He's probably from Alabama, and he was just homesick, and he was in a place he was burnt out. He was done with it. He was through with it. And he got a letter from home one day, and he opened it up, and he looked inside, and it was fresh cut hay. And he went to weeping. And his buddy asked him, what is it? He said, my daddy back home, he said, it's hay cutting season. He said, every year, my whole life, I went back home. We would go out in the fields and we would cut hay, we would bale hay. He said he knew if he sent me just a little smell from home, that it would pump me right back up. Oh, I'm already feeling the Holy Ghost. I have things in my life that I open up and I smell regularly. Oh, I can tell you about them, but every one of you do too. You have a grandparent or something that's touched you in a really special way that you need to hold close to you, and you need to open it up every once in a while and say, I got to make it all the way. I got to keep going with what I'm doing, and it'll build you back up. And burnout will dissipate. I got one more story. I think I have. It's 3:50, and I'm good till 4. Okay, 3:55, whichever. Here's a couple of perspective. Perspective is so paramount in whether or not our attitude. We'll just say our attitude. Perspective is paramount in our attitude. I'm going to tell you a story, and like I said, I probably won't connect as much here as I do in the South, but there was a story. I say a story. This happened. This was like a year and a half ago. I like to duck hunt. You know, I grew up right there in the South. We hunt and fish and do all kind of really fun stuff. Well, some boys I knew that really, they've been on me about coming to their new duck hole, and I was like, oh man, okay, I guess. Well, it was cold that morning, and we gathered up in the truck. And I'm talking about bitter cold. And to start off with, I left my waders outside in the teens, and they don't hardly get in the teens. I had to put on cold waders, and I was like, oh, my Lord, it's so cold. We made it over here to this duck hole that they said was, oh, man, this is really, and it was a little old pothole, just a little pond in the middle of a gravel pit with a few decoys in it, and I think we had to break ice that morning. I'm like, oh, my Lord, what have I got into? So I'm wading out here, and about halfway out there, I realized my waders have a hole in them. Oh. So I'm talking about, so I get there, there's ice on the blind. They had thrown together some kind of a blind. It looked like, I set my shotgun on it, sploosh, it hit the water, and it's about this deep, and then I'm having to fish around in it, and by the time, and then, the daylight comes, and a few scragglers come in. You can hear just a few little wood. We shot a few times, but anyway, we had to get all the way back out there and go home, and that was my story. But let me tell you about another story. My grandsons love duck hunting, and I raised them to love the things of outdoors, and they got to the age that they were able to build their own duck blind. They used lumber from our sawmill, and they got out there and they scrounged up some decoys, and it was a place, and it was a beautiful, sad, crisp morning. I hauled them out there. We waded out there. It got daylight. You know, you've been there. You're proud. These boys are they looking out across there, and they looking at the sky, waiting on it to crack daylight, and directly here. And you hear them wood ducks. Ain't nothing but wood ducks out there, but they fun to shooting. Do, and they hitting them, and man, and they waiting out there, and you just proud. Take them home, and Mama, it was Thanksgiving or Christmas. Maybe at Christmas you needed about 3 wood ducks for a dressing. Oh, we plucked them, and it was the greatest time. Now, I can tell you those two stories I just told you are the exact same event. Really are. All those things happened, but the perspective that I looked at them from completely changed my outlook and how I felt about it. I really did enjoy that. I really did do all those other things. I could have told it from either perspective. So perspective, how you look at everything in your life affects whether or not you're just done with something. So perspective. I got one more quick story. It's 3:55. I'm about right there. I feel like I got a text. I want to read this text to you. I got it today, this morning. My wife and I, in a group text, one of our Sunday school teachers who went through a lot of trauma in her life, and even recently, just, you know how junk happens in people's lives, even with their friends, even in the church. And she had got to the point she was done. And she was one of my Sunday school teachers, and I felt a burden for her. And I knew her situation. I knew how she felt. I knew she hadn't showed up, and I knew she was trying to quit. And God we had Super Church coming up, and I had a message that I felt God was trying to, and I was reaching for children, but I also had her in mind. And that morning, her and her husband wrapped up and come to the altar and prayed, sought God, and it just completely changed their perspective, because here's the story I told. I had some little birthday candles, and I lit that candle. And I was talking about how that's who we are. We're the light of this world, and we have the fire. We have what it takes, and our purpose is to pass that. And I have another candle, and I put it on where them children need us. And if we walk around, I blow the candle out, and we're completely ineffective if we're not on fire, and the enemy wants to destroy them, and it won't be long. And I had all kind of these good analogies where the fire was going down, and it wouldn't be long, it'd be ineffective. But the fact that she seen that she was a candle and she had a purpose, and if her fire wasn't lit, she didn't have no business here. And it lit that little fire back up in her. She's back on track. She's one of my best, most effective Sunday school teachers. And I just wanted to share that with you guys today. And you can go tell that to I'll share all my sermon notes with you, but you are a candle in your class. And if you show up and your light's dim, or it's even blown out, or whatever, you're not going to be able to do your job in the kingdom, because we are here to touch others. And we can't just go home and sit on a shelf and be ineffective. It uses us. Now, a birthday candle will eventually get down to where it's nothing, but that ain't the way God's kingdom works. If we're on fire for Him, we'll continually be lifted up. Here she said, I told you I'd read it. She sent a copy of the podcast that I did about it. The message that brought me back, with 3 crying faces. She said, y'all love and appreciate both of you more than you'll ever know. I said, well, I'm in Children's Ministry Conference in California. I said, you just verified my purpose. I said, we'll have the Rock Church full of candles in about an hour. So you guys are a candle. And remember what a candle's for. If you feel like you're getting dim, back up and look at your purpose. Look at what's fueling your fire. And understand that we can't afford to not be lit in our classes nowadays. We need to be not burnt out, but we need to be on fire and not burning out, because He's the master of regeneration. He's the one that fills us back up. And if we burn out, that's because we're not connected to the fuel source. Amen. So it's 3:59. Any questions, comments, anything? I know you've probably experienced some things and you may want to ask about, and or if not, maybe some of the notes will be able to help you in some way. I love being here. This is phenomenal. It's the first time I ever went to this church. Man, this is awesome. And I'm telling you, it's over. It's 4 o'clock now. I done figured out it takes about 5 or 6 good Louisiana people to make one Californian. You guys are fine. I'm talking about top notch. You're great. So thank y'all. Love y'all.